Okay. And we're live!
Buongiorno. Come stai?
Good afternoon. How are you?
I'm very well. How's Marcella Pepini?
Very good, thank you. We have 0 viewers. I
Didn't you say that last time and there were actually loads of people there?
Say that again.
Didn't they say that there was no one last time? And then James was like, no, you're live, just keep going.
Yeah, you're live. Just talk about something more interesting. And no, we have 1 viewer now. No idea who it is, but yes. And I am going to try and find the chat. This new platform is very confusing.
So how are you finding out about all these wonderful new platforms for us?
This one was suggested by Sammy.
Oh, and what does Sammy do on this platform?
Well, apparently you can broadcast to multiple platforms.
My goodness. Lucky world.
Lucky world indeed. But we're not. We're just on YouTube for now. But we will be going all over the world very soon.
Well, it's only 1 minute past 5, so maybe before we launch into our interview with Marcella Pepini today, let's have a little catch up. What have you been doing this week?
I have been preparing the academy, and also I've been doing a new illustration.
Oh my God, that's brilliant.
Yeah.
I love it.
Got a little seaside scenery going on.
That's fantastic. A little time delay. What is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the one.
We're having Exploding Prinny saying good morning from Arizona. Good morning, darling.
Exploding Prinny sounds quite rude. What does that mean?
It's quite a name. I don't know. Tell us the meaning about your name.
Yeah, please do. From Arizona. Good morning. I bet it's nice and sunny there. It's been lovely and sunny here today.
Yeah, it's gorgeous in London as well.
So you finished your songwriting course last week, did you?
Yes, I did. Yeah, it was fabulous.
Yeah, any number ones in the making?
Oh, absolutely.
All of them.
All of them. It was really interesting because, of course, I was writing with people whose musical tastes differ quite wildly from mine, and so it was quite a challenge to accept the process without judging the output.
Did you write any death metal?
Yes.
Oh my God.
I made an album all dedicated to you.
Fantastic. Well, I think we should probably start this interview. I've got about 15 questions for you.
Oh my God. Wow.
And I've written you an introduction, and I think this is an introduction straight from the Marcella Pepini fan club, edition number 1. So you better get ready. Prinnies are from a game. Oh, that's fine. I just thought it sounded quite fruity. It's nice. They exploded you through them. What do you know?
Sweet, actually.
It sounds like my moods.
Look, I'm wearing.
Oh my God, you're Elvisina. That's brilliant. So how many people have we got with us today?
We have 6 so far. It'll be a glorious interview.
So who's ready for this interview? Marcella Pepini, let's face it, is one hell of a lady and a formidable force to be reckoned with. Nothing is impossible in her hands, and she is utterly fearless in the way she chooses to interact with life. But what were the key moments that led you to this point, Marcella, into the full force of MI5 that we see today? So I've got a list of questions which are about sort of key turning points in your life, and we'd like to know a little bit more.
Before we do that, I completely forgot to announce that we were doing that.
Oh.
So, we should explain that basically it was your brilliant idea to do that. So this week, Kate is interviewing me, and next week I am interviewing Kate.
This is going to be so much fun. And also, I think we can ad-lib with questions. If anybody wants to interject and ask, I mean, we'll have to sort of vet them just in case I'm really dodgy about Prinnies or something.
Exploding ones.
Yeah, but it'd be nice if people want to jump in and ask a little bit more. But I mean, I've known Marcella for how long? 17? Is it 17 years?
It was 2002 that we met, wasn't it? Or 2001?
Oh my God. So is it 20 years?
When did you start?
2000 and I think it was 1.
Yeah, 2001.
20 years.
Yes.
Oh God, you've had to put up with a lot in that time, haven't you, Marchie? But in that 20 years, I've had the privilege of working with Marcella, and there are just so many different sides to Marcella, so many different abilities, and I'd like to sort of dig a little deeper, find out where this all began and what were your key moments in life that led you to make the choices that you have. So here we go. Marcella Pupini, what is your earliest memory?
That's such a good question. I don't know if it's an actual memory or if it's because you never know. Your mum always tells you about cute things that you did as a baby. But apparently I started whistling when I was 1. And I was quite adept at it. And apparently I was talking by the time I was 1.5.
Crikey.
And I used to wake up my mum, who was by then pregnant with my sister, very heavily pregnant. And I would wake her up in the morning saying, "Good morning, Daniela. Would you like a cup of coffee?"
Did you make the coffee?
Yes, obviously.
Marcella Pupini has a wonderful coffee face, which I think you inherited from your father, didn't you? But it's something like she's got this coffee, she's got about 50 pounds on this wonderful coffee. Doesn't matter how much it tastes. Great, really good. Are you sure? Are you sure?
By the way, we have an excellent question by a certain Mr. David Duchin, a viewer that would like to know about chest of drawers.
Yeah, that's going to come later because that's going to come in the band stuff. That's genius. We do want to know about chest of drawers. But it's funny with memories. Sometimes I think I remember things, and then I watch the old family videos, and it's from that I've got the memory. Like it's from photos, or it's from videos, or things that people have told you. Like I remember getting ants in my pants when I was about 2 or 3. I was sat in the garden, and I literally an entire ant colony crawled up my, not up my bum. I remember being in the bathroom going, "Oh, these ants!" And my parents were like, and then I showed them this handful of ants on my bum.
So are you saying that there is an actual video of that?
I don't think there's a video, but I do. But that I think might be my actual earliest memory because my parents don't remember it. I remember it vividly.
Oh wow!
Yeah, what a memory, eh? Anyway, this is about you. So, my earliest memory is about whistling. Did you get sort of passed around the town as this little child prodigy whistler? Or?
Yeah. I was brought out at every family entertainment. Yeah.
So what did you whistle?
I probably made up my own melodies.
Amazing. Well, actually, that leads me to my next question, which is, what is your earliest musical memory?
That is definitely a memory. I remember I must have been around 5, and I was at nursery school, although I think I was picking up my sister because I don't think I ever went to nursery school. But my mum came to pick us up, and there was a piano there, and I started plinking plonking, and every kid had been just bashing, whereas I just went at the piano and just The next day I was taking piano lessons from a nun called Suor Natalina.
I see. Where was she based? Was she near to you? Or?
She was very close. Going down the hill, there's a nunnery further down the hill from my house.
I don't think I knew that.
Yeah, it was a beautiful place.
And of course, Marcella was born and raised in the hills of Bologna.
The rolling hills.
The singing nuns. Tra la 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 la.
Yeah. Yes, I actually am from The Sound of Music.
You remember what your first piece on the piano that you learned was?
Yes. The first one that was musical. It was called The Chinese Tambourine.
Oh,
and it was a 4-hand piece that I used to do with the nun.
This is incredible. Did you then take these skills home to Shea Papini, and you all got around the piano and started singing and things together, didn't you? You did harmony.
Yes, of course. Yes.
Brother and sister. And what did you used to sing with the Papinis?
Well, I used to terrorize my sister and brother because there were a couple of Italian songs that at the time had harmony, or actually one of them had an orchestral thing going on, trumpets and stuff like that. So I used to force them to be the orchestra.
So which part did they take? Which was Sylvia? Was she the flute and the wind, or?
No, she was. There was a sort of a bell descending, the bum 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 bum, and then my brother would be the trumpet.
Amazing. So would you be playing, or were you singing the melody?
No, I was singing the tune.
Okay, amazing. So that was your first band.
Yeah, it would be during car trips. The whole car trip would be delightful singing from 3 squeaky children. My dad he was so happy about that.
So where did you used to drive? Where did you used to go on holiday?
We mostly was not very far, about 2 hours away from Bologna. There's a seaside location called Milano Marittima. And that's where we would go every June, and because school finished in mid-June in Italy. So June until the end of July we'd be there. And then August we'd be in the Alps.
Doing the Sound of Music.
Doing the Sound of Music, yes. Yes, because we would just go for walks in the Alps and sing. So yes.
When did you remember seeing the Sound of Music for the first time?
You know, I don't think I've seen it.
You're not?
I was in it and I never saw it.
Really? You didn't need, who needs Julie Andrews? You got the Papinis.
Yeah.
So you were, as far as I can tell, quite an academic young lady. You enjoyed subjects like classics, and you were a voracious reader, I believe. You still are, aren't you? You read a lot. So what were your favorite subjects at school?
Italian literature until I was about 14, and we started Greek and Latin, and then Greek became my absolute obsession. I was obsessed with it.
So did you go home and try speaking Greek to the family?
No, I wasn't that much of a knob, but
amazing. Well, I don't know if we'll find out, you know.
No, it was. I found the whole Greek culture really. It was such an inspiration, and I felt, and the whole mythology. Because I was quite a dreamy child. I really liked the fairy tale aspect of Greek mythology.
Yeah. So did they teach you? What did they teach you? How to the language? How to read the alphabet? And
yeah. So I learned the alphabet so that we could then translate ancient text, and that was really what the whole thing was about. You like the homework or the tests that we did in school were all about how well we would translate the text. And it was all about the subtleties of language. And that's why I became so obsessed with the precision of language, because Greek is where pretty much every European language comes from, really. Greek via Latin, but all
etymology, is that what it's called? Etymology?
Etymology, yeah, which is also a Greek word. It's If you look at the etymology of most polysyllabic words in Western languages, it's all Greek.
And was your ancient Greek useful in helping you to read Cyrillic when we went to Russia?
Yes.
You'd be like, Pictopar. What does Pictopar mean? It was scared, wasn't it? We were driving around with our Russian I don't know, what consort, whatever you want to call our little babysitter. And just, we just kept driving past these shops that had what we read as pectopar written on them and stuff. What is a pectopar? How do you actually pronounce that in Russian?
Restaurant. No, I don't know how you pronounce it, but restaurant.
Restaurant, exactly. So is this in your secondary school education that you were doing all this?
Yes. And we were doing a lot of poetry, of Greek poetry, the lyrical poets of the islands, the Ionic Islands.
Oh, wow.
Just so beautiful.
Oh, you need to send me some of that, because I'm quite down with my poetry. I'd love to do that, yeah.
There are many fragments that have remained. So some of them are just tiny, but there's some that I think you probably would have heard, because they're quite famous.
Right.
And I think they've probably been translated by some British poet as well.
So that was your favorite subject, was it Greek, ancient Greek? And what part did the music have in your education? How did that, was that privately that you were taught music?
Yeah, it was just private. Yeah, because actually Italian education doesn't really, I don't know if it's changed now, but when I was a kid, there was no music at all. And there was no PE, actually. We didn't do any kind of sports, nothing. It was just academic.
Double ancient Greek, go home for lunch, sport, no sport in the afternoon.
Yeah.
Wow. Gosh. So it was all private lessons. You had piano lessons? Did you have singing lessons as well?
I never did, sadly, because my parents didn't really believe in that. The piano lessons, I had them until I was about 16. But not singing. And when I was about 16, I went because I was obsessed with opera, I went for an audition to be part of the choir.
I was going to ask you about that. Yeah.
and I failed, unfortunately, because I wasn't trained.
So was this a church choir?
No, it was the Teatro Comunale of Bologna. It was like the main opera theatre in Bologna.
Right. So you didn't go to church and sing in the choirs and things like that?
No, we don't have that in Italy. I mean, they probably do in big cathedrals, but
yeah, it seems to be something that, well, actually, my school was really Christian, so we'd go to, if you were part of the choir, you had to do chapel every Sunday, which was really, really boring. You'd wear these robes, which made you look like a Christmas pudding. It was great fun. Well, I mean, I don't think you needed a choir. You had the Papini siblings on the hills of Bologna.
Exactly. And actually, in my school, when I was about 8 or 9, we would have morning assembly, and every single morning we would sing a song, but it was usually some really silly pop songs. Like there was one that was called "You Are My Sympathy," like as in Italian, simpatico means really likable. So I really like you a lot. Tu sei la mia simpatia.
What a nice message to teach children. That's lovely.
Yeah. That was brilliant. Oh, my laptop is not plugged in and it's about
Zoop.
You'll be left on your own. Sorry.
Just talking to myself. It's like every day, March. It's what happens every day. I'm just like to myself and the cats. You left Italy to study fashion design at Central St. Martin's.
Yeah.
At what point did you decide to do this?
I didn't really leave to study. That's the thing. I left because unexpectedly, because I had been super academic, and then I had a couple of years when I was really bad in school, got a little bit lost, and then in the last year I made up for it all and graduated with flying colors. And my dad was so pleased with that he, out of the blue, he said, "I send you to London for a big trip," and I was really not excited about it at all.
Really?
I could not care less about going to London. The culture had nothing to do with what I was into, because I was into opera and French novels, and
the food was crap. Let's face it.
And yeah, because everybody, all of my friends would go would come to the UK for their summer trips and stay with families, and everybody would report back that the food was just atrocious.
They've discovered garlic, but they use too much.
Yeah, it is garlic in dessert and everything, and I
You've never had garlic pudding. What's wrong with you? It's great. Well, that was while you were on your trip, was it? That you?
Yeah, when I was on my trip, I was walking down Charing Cross Road and I saw this bunch of kids coming out of a doorway, and they all looked like fame, you know. It was fantastic, and I thought, I have no idea what goes on in there, but that's where I'm going.
Fantastic.
And so I did.
So did you went back to Italy and then applied and came back? Is that right?
Yeah.
And what was the course you did at Central St Martin's?
Fashion design and marketing and management.
Fantastic. I mean, that must have been a really tough, not audition. What is it?
To get in. Yeah.
Yeah. So what do they require you to do to get in?
They needed an extensive portfolio, which I had to go and prepare, like a proper. So I actually had to go and do a foundation before I did my degree,
Right.
and I did it at St Martin's. So I had to prepare a portfolio for that. Yeah, it was quite a process. But
and where did you live when you started all that? Where were you in London?
I started with a family in Primrose Hill. No,
the posh side of town.
Yes, in Parliament Hill, by actually where is it? Belsize Park.
Mm.
And the father, they lived in a five-story house that had been bedsits when the father had lived there as a student. The father was then in his 70s, and the daughter was my age, so he'd had a really amazing life. And he was Mr. Wilcox of Cowling and Wilcox, the art shop.
Oh, really? Yeah.
And he was an opera singer. So they basically took me in as a daughter, gave me my own floor because they had so many rooms that they didn't need, and barely charged me any rent because I sang with him, and he really liked me.
How did you find them?
I knew the daughter. She was an art student as well, called Sally.
That's amazing. What kismet.
Yeah, I know, it was fantastic.
And we'll Marcella get the job after this interview. Who knows? Who knows what she's interviewing for? I'll tell her at the end.
I hope so.
You studied at one of the most prestigious arts colleges in the world, right? St Martin's is
yes, it is.
Top bollocked places. What was your favourite project that you did while you were there?
My favorite of all was my very first project, because it was before I got jaded. Because actually, I found St Martin's, everybody was so fake that after a while I started getting a little bit. I started finding it problematic. But in the beginning, I was so excited, and I did this project about. I set the project. It was the first one, so I decided that it was about the woman that wants it all. So can I have a career and have a family and blah blah blah, and yes. So I designed a whole collection that was for pregnant women that were super high flying in managerial positions, but also. But basically, it was trainers, big chunky hip hop trainers with massive stiletto heels, and it was part power suit, part sequins, part training gear.
It sounds amazing.
It was brilliant. It was. I wish I still had it. After that, it seemed like I was going to be a fashion superstar, and then I kind of lost my love for it. just because
the people, was it, in the atmosphere? And
yeah, and then I never really wanted to be in fashion after that.
It's a tough industry, isn't it?
It's just the people. It's just that everybody. I had friends at the time. I was really good friends with somebody who's now in a very high-powered position in one of the big magazines, and you know, she stayed at my flat when she was homeless. We were best friends, not best friends, but really close friends. And after we finished St. Martin's, she stopped saying hello because I didn't go into fashion industry straight away. So she did. So I was part of her world. She didn't have time. She didn't have space in her life for people.
But is that because there's so much smoozing and you just got to be in with the right people? And it's, I mean, it's quite like the music industry in many ways, isn't it? It's who you know, who you know.
Yeah, it's true, but it's more extreme. I mean, I've never seen anything like it.
Yeah, but so you then went on straight from St. Martin's to Vivienne Westwood, did you?
Yes, yeah.
How did you get the job? Did you just apply, or did it get recommended to you? Or?
No, it was a really weird thing. I didn't go straight into it. I went to Australia with my then boyfriend, and then I came back and I was working as a tequila girl in bars. And then I remember I split up with my boyfriend, and he rang me at home one day. And by chance I was at home, saying that a friend of mine had been looking for me. He'd been working at Vivienne Westwood and he was trying to find me. So he was going around London trying to find me because I didn't have a mobile. Because he wanted to get me an interview at Vivienne Westwood.
Wow. So, and then he hunted you down eventually and found you.
He hunted me down. Yeah, literally went to all of the places that he knew I frequented.
Were you drinking beer at that point, Marcia? Were you popping up the British bars with your beer?
I was quite well known in Soho.
Is that someone you're still friends with, or?
Yeah, you've met him. He stayed at my place back when I lived in West London. His name was Gregorio.
Oh, maybe. Yeah, we met. Yeah, maybe. Nice. Well, yes. Explain to everybody what you did while you were at Vivienne Westwood. What was your specific job?
I was in charge of the manufacturing and marketing of all of the accessories, the jewelry, shoes, bags, belts, something else as well, but I can't remember. So yeah, so I would go to all of the fashion shows in Paris, and I was doing the selling to the shops around the world.
Oh right.
Yeah, so I was in charge of the accessories in the showroom,
right?
And I was getting them manufactured. So I was on the phone telling off the shoe people, those soles aren't good enough. I was actually really cutthroat back then.
I didn't know anyone in the fashion industry had any soles. Boom.
Oh.
But describe a typical day when you were at Westwood. Describe a little typical day, what you did.
Well, at the time, I was really not terribly well behaved. So I would be out all night. So I would go in at about 11. The working day started at 10. According to my friend Lorraine, who back then was working as a receptionist at Vivienne Westwood.
Yeah.
I would walk in backwards at 11 in case anyone saw me, and then I would be able to say, well, I'm just popping out for coffee. Anyone want it?
That's amazing. That's such a good idea.
And then the boss would always, not the boss as in Vivienne, but the managing director, who was this crazy older Italian guy who barely spoke a word of English, and you would always hear him around saying, "Where is Pupini?" It was back then. It was an open plan. Like no, there was a well in the middle of, like, it was about a lot of balconies that looked down on the ground floor where I was, and he would be shouting from the balcony, "Where is Pupini?"
So you were quite renowned, were you, for your antics?
Yeah. Also because I always wore PVC. And
see, I remember Andreas talking to us about this. This is Vivienne Westwood's husband. When we went to do a little video, we borrowed some dresses, didn't we, for Jill?
Yeah.
We went in and did a video with him and sort of interview. And he just was talking about how he remembers the sound of Marcella Pupini entering the building, squeaking with PVC.
Yeah, you always knew where I was because I squeaked. And they really didn't like it that I was wearing PVC.
Really?
They believe in man-made fabrics.
Oh. Mm. So has Vivienne always been as ethically minded as she is now?
Yeah. Well, I mean, she was then. I don't know about the 70s, but by then it was.
PVC, a no-no.
Yeah, no.
So what was your lasting memory of Viv, of working with Viv?
She was absolutely brilliant, but batshit crazy. And the first time that I went to chat to her, because she wanted to know how my department was doing, I was very keen. I was very green, so I talked for about half an hour about all the changes and how well the department was doing, and blah blah blah. And at the end, she just looked at me and just went, "I like how you do your hair," and set me off. And another time, she came downstairs, stared at me for about 2 minutes without saying a word, stared at me. And then she came around and reshaped my dress because I wasn't wearing it correctly, didn't say a word, and left.
That reminds me of the photo shoot we did for her.
Yeah.
Oh my God. So remind me what that was. They were doing a book, weren't they?
Yes.
They were doing a book of people wearing Westwood stuff, and they were taking the pictures with an old camera that only had a finite amount of film left or something, weren't they?
I think it was a giant Polaroid machine.
Yeah, that's right. It was like a coffee table book that they were making. Yeah. And Fergie was there amongst other people, I remember. But we were called in to do it, and because it was Polaroid, they could only take one shot, right?
Yes.
So there was loads of preparation, and then you were just stuck in front of the camera, and it was like boom. But we were put in a range of clothes called the Urban Terrorist range, I remember. Yeah. It was sort of camouflage mixed with urban chic. But I remember that Steph was given a little hat with a Hessian mask. It was not see-through at all. It was like a Hessian bag, and it went all over her face. And they'd cut eye holes in her mouth. Whereas you and I were sort of like, la, 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 and all nice things. And so Steph was sort of looking in the mirror and went, no, I'm not having this. And then pinned it back, didn't she? And then Viv was sort of fluffing us before we went on, as it were. And she sort of grabbed the veil and pulled it back down again and shoved her in front of the camera. Just as he went, 3, 2, 1, she pulled it off. I bet Vivienne is still really annoyed for that.
Yeah, and I don't think they used the photo in the end because you can't outsmart Vivienne.
They won't use it. No, I never did. Did that book ever come to fruition?
No, I never saw it.
No,
I should ask actually.
Yeah, damn right. So after Vivienne, there was a momentous conversation with your dear friend Laurent, who persuaded you that you were not happy doing what you were doing. Is that right? And that you'd always wanted to be a singer.
He knew because I kept going to all the. Sorry, I'm trying to get lighting that doesn't make me look like a cadaver, but I'm not.
Welcome to my world.
At that point, I was going to a lot of open mic nights, and I was actually in a band. I'd been in a band before, and this time I was in a band that seemed like it was a bit serious. And
who was that? Who was in that?
It was 2 guys from South London, like proper South Morden.
Okay.
And we were a trip hop outfit.
Amazing.
obsessed with trip hop. So I was going down to Morden anytime I could, but I could only go at the weekend, and it was frustrating that we couldn't go fast enough. And I was talking to Lolo, and he basically said, Dardi, but if you want to be a musician, what are you doing here? And I went, oh, yeah, you're right. What am I doing here? And I gave him my notice that same day.
And in true Marcella Papini style, go straight for the conservatoires and got a place in the first year of the jazz course at Trinity, wasn't it?
Yes, yeah.
When it was still in, what was it called? It was behind Selfridges, wasn't it?
It was behind near the Whitmore Hall. I can't
Something
remember.
Place. What was it called? Something Place.
I can't remember. Oh, Mandeville Place.
Mandeville, that's right. And then it moved a couple of years later, and that's when it went to Greenwich, didn't it? Yeah. But I remember you saying you just spent most of your time in Selfridges. Yeah. So what made you choose a jazz course then?
Just because there was nothing else. Back then there weren't any pop courses really, which I probably would have done if there had been, but it was before they started in earnest. There was nothing. I didn't want to go to the Brit school or anything like that.
And I suppose jazz is something you can really study and get into, can't you? And you're always one for a challenge and something that will stretch you. And jazz is certainly something that does that.
And I actually did love jazz. I was listening to tons of Billie Holiday and tons of jazz, and the Manhattan Transfer had been an obsession for years. So it wasn't that I particularly wanted to be a jazz singer, but I did like jazz, and I wanted to be a musician. So it was just I would have done anything. I would have done classical if they'd taken me, and I did apply for a choir in Trinity, but they didn't take me because I couldn't read well enough.
Stupid people. Stupid people. So what was I going to say? Trinity. What was your lasting memory of Trinity College of Music?
Well, I actually really, really loved doing the jazz choir. I have to admit, it wasn't the best organized of choirs, but it was. But it was really, really fun, and we had some quite challenging arrangements as well.
I remember it being really fun, and then people after you finished, I remember people just saying how well it sort of gone down. I remember having loads of fun because it was really challenging.
Yeah, I absolutely loved it. I loved it that we got to, well, you and I got to sing the tenor parts, which was.
And this is the beginning of the Papini story, really. This is how Marcella and I met. And I remember you saying to me something like, because you decided to put the Papini sisters together, you'd finished Trinity and you missed singing in harmony. And you asked Rosie, who was our original redhead. I remember asking you once, why did you choose me? She said something like you'd come to college one day in baggy trousers and heels, and I thought it was a really good look. I was like, yes. I was sort of morphing out of my goth metal phase into some kind of weird jazz holding bay. So I think I had like ginger hair because I tried to dye it blonde from going from dark red. And I think I looked like a complete cretin for about 3 years. I really did the job, and they got your notice. So that's good. Who is the artist that had the most influence on your musical style?
Probably Kate Bush. Because back when I first heard her, I'd never heard anything like it other than in opera.
Yeah.
And the idea that you could do something that was so out there and so theatrical and dramatic, it really left a lasting impression. There was an Italian artist as well that I was obsessed with at the same time, and he was a sort of Italian Ziggy Stardust, except very also quite musical theatre in his approach, and very, well, actually, yeah, it was a cross between Ziggy Stardust and Freddie Mercury.
And so, it's Kate Bush, the way she writes, it's very narrative, isn't it? She's incredible at taking a story like Babushka, is random story about Babushka, whoever Babushka was, and it's just she manages to put herself into the character of the person she's describing really, really well. Like Wuthering Heights is a perfect example as well. She's just extremely good at that sort of dramatic story, isn't she?
Yeah, and her melodies are always really experimental, and she just pushes boundaries in everything she does. In melody writing, in her chord structures, in her lyrical content, and in her performance. So she's, I'd say she is the biggest inspiration.
And when you compare, you're like, what I love about Kate Bush is that she is pop music. Everyone considers her a pop artist.
Yeah.
But she's so completely left field. Every song has got different influences, and it's just bizarre. I mean, my husband has a friend who used to engineer for her, I think, and said that working with her was just an amazing experience, but also quite frustrating because she wouldn't finish something until it was, she could spend months and years doing something, and then suddenly she'd just be like, no, that's it, don't want it. So her sort of level of perfection is so high. But I think that really shows, doesn't it?
It have to be, really.
Tell me and us more about the Forget-Me-Nots, your band, and how that developed into the format that it did.
The Forget-Me-Nots started as an all-woman orchestra, and it was actually it was put together for one show that I did as a musical director at the Hackney Empire. It was a show by the Whoopee Club that was called Wink the Other Eye, and starred Paloma Faith. And I basically was tasked with putting together this Edwardian all-female orchestra and orchestrate all of these knees up songs and knees up versions of pop songs as well. So it was supposed to be just a theatrical performance, and I enjoyed it so much that I thought, no, I'm never ever gonna not do another show with these people. And so I kept going. I started writing songs for it, and at the time, actually, when the Papini sisters got signed to Universal, I had just been accepted to do a composition masters at Trinity.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
I was really keen to be a contemporary music composer. So that was actually, because I couldn't do it, I had to say no, and so that was the way that I could have that kind of activity. That was my avenue.
Yeah, I think it was a really important thing for you, wasn't it? Particularly at that time. What was your most memorable performance with the Forget-Me-Nots?
I think it was when we went to Berlin for 5 days.
Yeah.
We did. We were performing in a Spiegel tent, and we had five nights in a row, our own show, and it was unbelievable. I mean, I could have prepared more because you do a 5-night run. It's quite a challenge. It was unbelievable, so brilliant.
And in Germany, they really get, because the Forget-Me-Nots, how would you describe it? Sort of wonky cabaret.
Yes. Yeah,
they really get that.
Really.
What do you call it? Punk cabaret or something?
Well, that was actually the Dresden Dolls that called themselves punk cabaret. That, I would say, describes the Forget-Me-Nots quite well as well.
And are they going to make a comeback? The Forget-Me-Nots making a comeback?
I keep thinking that it will, but it's really hard to find the musicians. Because the ones that I used to work with have all gone there. So maybe, and if it does, it's going to be because then from an all-female orchestra, it mutated into a sort of rock band or indie band, and that was really, really, really fun. Except everybody in the band was absolutely insane.
Brilliant. Madness. That's what you need.
And so now it would be a combination. If I did it again, it would be a combination of electronic music and classical instruments again, probably.
You could produce it all now because you've got bare skills, haven't you?
Yeah, getting them. I've been teaching masterclasses about.
Brilliant.
I don't know how, but yeah.
But I mean, it must be for you. You're so capable, and you always have so many different ideas about where you want to go and what you want to do. It must be very difficult to choose your path sometimes because you've got so many options available to you.
I don't know if it's because I've got so many options. It's just that is my personality that I want to do.
You create them. You always create. You say yes to a lot of different things. It's an amazing attitude to have, and it's really enviable. Whereas sometimes other people's insecurities might get in the way. You just go, all right, I'll give it a go. And invariably, it's a pretty damn good success. I was going to talk a little bit about, well, David presented himself, but if you feel comfortable, I was going to ask you to talk about your first few dates with David, because they're one of my favourite stories of all time, but only if you feel comfortable.
Oh, he doesn't mind.
And then we can talk about the chest of drawers. Okay.
Yes. So David, I met David at a concert that I did I did it in Red Church Street in Shoreditch back in, I think it was 2002, and it was at my friend Laurent's house. He basically had a beautiful warehouse space in Red Church Street back when it was still wild and underground.
Less Shoreditch, yeah.
Shoreditch, yeah. And it was a benefit night to gather funds for the Free Tibet campaign, and being organised by myself and Laurent, who works at Westwood. It was basically a fashion extravaganza. I was wearing, it was amazing. Everybody that came was so fashionable, and I was wearing this incredible Swarovski corset. I looked like a queen, and David came to me after the show finished, and he was wearing leather trousers and a string vest, and he said, "What do you know about voodoo?" And I went, "Nothing, but I want to." And I had no idea why he was asking me.
Does he know? Have you asked him?
He would panic. He said that it was the first thing that he could think of. He wanted to talk to me, and that's the first thing that came out of his mouth. I actually thought that he was from some cult and wanted to enlist me in something, and I was totally up for it.
Yeah.
So I gave him my number, thinking, and everybody was gay there. That was there.
But why was David there?
He had come with our friend Torsten.
Oh, yeah.
Friends both with Laurent and with David. So yeah, we had a friend in common, and then I gave him my number, but I was with someone at the time, so he called me, and he actually says he called me 3 or 4 times, but I didn't reply, or my phone was off, and then he tried again, and then fast forward a year, I did another concert for the Panchen Lama with my friend Laurent, and it was an even bigger affair. We rented a massive warehouse space in Brixton. We had cakes donated by Patisserie Valerie. Champagne was flowing. We had a massive, massive amount of Vivienne Westwood jewelry that was being auctioned, and I was singing with an orchestra and a big band. It was just a massive, massive production. And I was, but I'd been crying for about 2 months because I'd just split up from my then boyfriend, the crazy Shura who played the bass. And I saw him in, like he was sat in the front row as I came out to sing, and I recognized him and I said hello, and then didn't think anything of it. And then at the end of the night, everybody was really drunk. He was completely drunk. Everybody was dancing. I don't remember anything. I think I kissed someone else. And then I went home and my mum told me, we're going to have dinner with that guy, David, tomorrow. And I said, what? I don't know him. She said, no, we're going. And apparently, because then David told me his version, he had sat next to her at the gig, and he was getting more and more drunk because there was so much champagne. And after a while, he said, I really fancy the singer. In Spanish to my mom. She's great. And my mom went, I know, she's my daughter. We made friends, and then we went for dinner, and then we proceeded to go on like 5 or 6 dates.
With your mum?
Me, David, and my mum, because I thought that David was my new gay best friend.
Brilliant.
And it wasn't until my mum one night invited him back to my house and said, Marcella, I go to bed. You stay down here with David.
With the non-gay David.
I thought, oh,
amazing. So if it wasn't for your mum, giving you those little push.
Honestly, if my mum hadn't missed her flight, because she was supposed to be in Bologna by then, I might still be single.
Yeah, but I think he would have stalked you. So I think he was quite into you. And David, he's a resourceful man.
But how would you have explained to me that he wasn't gay? I don't know.
I have very large amounts of faith in David. I think he really would have snared you one way or another. I mean, who knows? He might have used the gay line to snare you. I don't know.
That's true.
I need to talk about. But if we go on to chest of drawers, what Marcella told our drummer at the time that she would call her child.
No, it was him. It was all him.
Oh, it was him. Right.
We were in LA, and we'd been flying for 12 hours, and we'd been queuing at the airport at customs for about 2 hours, and I was quite delirious. And then our stupid drummer Henry just went, if I had children, I think I would call them Henrietta, Geraldine, and chest of drawers.
I think you didn't bring it for about 45 minutes.
I fell on the floor, howling.
I think it was LAX, because it's notoriously long to get out of. I think it was LAX.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Stupid Henry and his chest of drawers children.
That really was genius.
Okay, I'm going to try and keep this to an hour, so we'll whiz through the last few questions. What has been your most memorable moment in your Papini Sisters career?
There's quite a few. For
the sake of the interview, let's keep it positive.
No. I mean, loads of really positive ones. I'm thinking, because the first one that came to mind was the Greek in LA.
But I was thinking about it the other day. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe it is. I don't know. But I mean, it's the O2 is a close second, and also recording with Bublé.
It was at the Premises in Hackney. Yeah.
Yeah.
You remember that? So we did the Cyndi Lauper True Colours tour in 2000 and possibly 9, was it? 8 or 9?
Yeah.
We joined her tour. It was like a Lesapalooza, really, wasn't it? It was Joan Jett, the Black Hearts. What's the guy from Erasure? Andy Bell. That's right.
Andy Bell.
Who else was on it? The B-52s. We joined in Arizona, didn't we? We did a few. I think we only did about 5 dates.
Yeah.
But do you remember our introduction to Cyndi when we were called into her dressing room?
Yeah.
Because the tour worked, people were coming and going on the tour, and she was the constant. and everybody for the encore would come on and sing True Colours. You got assigned a verse or whatever. So you were given a microphone, given a big ball. Do you remember the big inflatable balls that we had to throw out in the audience? And we'd sort of practiced it, and then we were called into Cindy's dressing room to rehearse it. And I think we didn't do a particularly good job. And she was like, "Girls, you better learn it by an hour's time." She's not Irish, by the way. She was quite formidable, wasn't she? She's an incredible
it was so scary.
But I remember the Greek, we went on to do our encore. We all had our big balls, big, huge inflatable things, and we all threw them out into the audience. And then suddenly I heard a guy at the side of the stage going, "Mayday, mayday, one of the Papini sisters has thrown a microphone into the crowd with a ball. Go get it." I think something is.
Yes.
Exactly with your ball.
It was brilliant.
I think that was the Greek. I think it was.
Yeah, it was the Greek. Yeah. I think that might be one of my fondest memories. Although, to be fair, there are many, because we've had some corkers.
But that tour, it was quite a happy time, wasn't it? Generally,
it was a brilliant tour. It was really, really good fun. Yeah, but I mean, we've been lucky because we've done so many amazing things.
Really. I know. When you think about it, you go back through it, and it's only when you talk to people about it that you sort of remember all the little things. And then you look at the photos. Like I was going through my old Facebook photos of the tours, particularly the American tours. Just being on a tour bus and doing America in that way was just incredible. And it's an experience we probably won't. Touring like that just doesn't really happen so much, does it?
No, not really. Well, hopefully it will again.
But just being on that bus and just driving around America. I remember going to sleep one night, entering Texas, waking up the next morning. Scenery was exactly the same for the whole day on the bus. Went to sleep, woke up the next morning. Scenery was exactly the same. So we were driving through Texas. It's just such a massive country. Really miss that. Two more. Where do you see yourself in 5 years' time?
Oh, in 5 years' time, I think I want to be the new Pharrell Williams.
Amazing.
The Pharrell Williams, yeah.
So doing some DJ tours as well, and
yeah.
What about the Papini Academy as well?
Yeah, the Academy. Hopefully, it's going to work, because you never know. But yeah, that would be amazing to make the Academy a massive resource for all harmony singers of all colours, really. Because it's not just what we do. I actually love all kinds of harmony. Yeah.
Well, it's a similar basic principle. Oh, you need to kind of perform in Indiana. Yes, we do. Yes, we really well do. Okay, last question, Marcella Papini. You've been an excellent interviewee. Thank you very much.
You've been an excellent interviewer.
Oh, thank you so much.
You need to have your own show.
Well, thank you. Yeah.
You do.
Oh, that'd be good. If you could have done anything in your life differently, what would it have been?
If I could have done anything in my life, what?
Differently. What would it be? If you could have intervened at one point and gone left instead of right, what do you think you might have done? Difficult, isn't it? There are so many points in life where you...
Yeah, there are a few. I mean, without going too much into our past, I probably would have dealt with our issues in the day better. Remember that I was older.
But it's always that classic thing, being in bands. It's so difficult to maintain an even keel with so many people involved, particularly when those roles are split three ways, when really that wasn't the best way to do it. It's bound to be difficult. I think I'd probably say the same, actually. It's been one heck of a little nursery ground, the Papini sisters.
Oh my God, yeah.
We've learned a lot, and I feel, it's crazy to think that I've known you for 20 years.
20 years, yeah.
You are one of the most inspirational people in my life.
Likewise.
And next week you'll be interviewing me, so you get to listen to me.
Yes.
Yeah. Ooh, very exciting.
I think that next week we'll be broadcasting both here and on Facebook.
Right. Can you do that?
Yes, and possibly on Instagram as well.
Oh, very nice. But can you record this? Are you going to give this to your...
It's it's going to be posted. It's definitely going to be posted on YouTube, so it'll be available.
And are you going to interview Emma?
I might do,
because I think she should interview you. As we should do, and maybe me and Emma could do one as well and interview each other. But I just think it'd be a nice thing to keep for all of us, really.
I think that is a very, very, very good idea.
Well, it's when you're in a band with three, it's not often that you get to focus on, because you're usually talking about the project as a whole, and it's not always that you get to talk about your individual.
Yeah. I like it. I really, really like this idea. It's very
well, maybe I'll do another one based on another interview of Marcella Papini based from a different angle. Who knows? You watch it. What are you thinking about it?
We have so many possible avenues to with each other.
Okay, my lovely. Well, listen, have a lovely week, and I will see you next week.
And sorry for talking so much. I just go down tangents, don't I?
No, what do you mean today?
Yeah, I talk so much.
No, these are questions designed to give us a wider picture about Marcella Papini. If anyone wants to know anything more about Marcella, you just need to let us know. Do it DM, or if you want to know something about me, or you want to know something about Emma.
Yeah, actually, specifically, if anyone wants to know any questions, ask any questions for Kate for next week, please do. Yeah. I know that somebody did in Papini Parlor, because I thought I was going to interview you last week.
Oh, cool.
To do it together.
Yeah.
So we'll definitely have a look in Papini Parlor as well.
Fabulous. All right, my loves. See you very soon. Have a nice evening.
Bye.